Стрелок. You've ever seen.
The next big theme of my horrible reviews shall be Stalker Wind of Time. It's an original story mode that takes place many years past the trilogy, when the zone has become so uncontrollable and is endangering the entirety of Serbia.
Attention stalkers, the mission is a project.
The mod is both an entertaining piece of art and a lesson in human nature and its undying will to protect illegal alcohol consumption, collecting the world's biggest minds, philosophers, and the population of Serbia under one roof peacefully. Truly a never seen before phenomenon. Wind of Time is based on Pripyat, so we should expect a layer of polish, right? Aesthetically, the mod has that iconic half Chernobyl feel that made many of us drool over videos of people raiding aggro promo or some shit like that, pretty much popularizing the game back in the day. Something like a golden era of Stalker, you could say. It looks really good. Without being too over the top, it's a bit too dark at times, forcing you to have your flashlight on even during the day, and I know that brightness exists, shut up. I just like looking at the reflective metal bits of the guns. For me, this is the most iconic Stalker look. Well, until Stalker 2 releases and it turns my computer into a mobile reactor. The guns featured in this mod are a mix from Arsenal Overhaul and STCUP weapon packs. They fit the zone with many rare guns being harder to find and most common guns being AKs and MP5s, which makes sense. There is nothing to complain about other than them being overused in most mods and there being 193 different models of the AK. My favorite part being the recoil. Instead of them just going up, they shake side to side more, but it feels really good. Grok, still, rightfully take that. An interesting thing in this mod is that instead of adding more maps, it removes plenty. Now the mod focuses around the middle part of the zone, with almost all maps being exactly the same as in the original trilogy, with one difference. The party is a fucking mess. I don't really understand this change, but Duty now habitates the wild territory, which is mirrored, and the layout here makes zero fucking sense. There is quite a few traders sprinkled in, and 100 rats bar is down in a tunnel. What I like is that you often see stalkers going in and out of the bar, and even sitting on the tables. The main problem would be how often this area crashes. Mutant behavior is literally the same as in Call of Chernobyl, except that mutants have been buffed massively. Being literal tanks, and since this mod is pretty much Call of Chernobyl, if you're overloaded, you're just fucked. Stalker AI is similar to COC as well, being very standard while in combat, with the best thing being that you often see random squads of stalkers roaming around. But rarely would they be hostile, as I've only seen loners and freedom. Zombies also appear to be far less aggressive, sometimes not noticing you for quite a while, even if you're in front of their face. And universally, for all stalkers, they seem to forget that you were shooting at them literally 5 seconds ago. But I don't remember TikTok being a thing in 2014. And now the unique features of this mod. The first being that Duty and Freedom are no longer at war, forced mostly by circumstances seemingly. Another one is ordering guns from the Freedom mechanic, which I did several times with the hopes that I'll be reunited with my old love, the HK417. If I keep ordering, I'll eventually get it, one day it will be mine, and remember that 100% of losers quit before they hit big. There is also functional smokes. This is the first mod that ever did smokes right. Like, I can't think of a better way. Come on, Grok, I know you want to take it. When it comes to the story of Wind of Time, it's quite short in comparison to most mods. But the side quests are really good, so put them together with the story as they give context. I also recommend the retranslation add-on because the dialogue is incomprehensible. It's dog shit without it. In 2014, the zone fucking explodes and it kills everything inside of it, sending out waves of radiation and psi emissions, and it keeps on growing with no one understanding why. So in the year 2040, the scientists discover a way of time travel, and in the year 2048 build the first time machine. You play as Ivan Demidov, a military specialist with experience in the zone, tasked with the mission to go back in time and stop the zone's growth in order to save humanity and Serbia. You arrive in an underground lab where the time machine is located. The scientists explain their plan. Demidov will have one single goal, and that is to stop the large emission. For that, he will be sent back in time to 2014. In that year, Professor Kalancha is still alive, so he could be a key to learning more about the zone's emissions and even how to stop them. Well, Demidov heads down into the time machine, and it is time. Once back in time, Demidov wakes up in a basement in Limansk, all according to plan. But once out, he's met by mercs.
Freeze! And don't even think of touching that shooter!
Demidov explains that he was with a group of scientists and that their helicopter crashed near Limansk. just as he was instructed. But the mercs don't really fall for it and he is taken to their commander. The commander asks Demidov about himself and if he knows anything about the All Consciousness project. But Demidov answers that this is his first day in the zone. The commander spares Demidov, but he must first bring them a lost case full of food. So he is given a gun and sent out. But they just decided to run past the side dog that was guarding it. The mercenary commander Satrap is pleased and lets Demidov free, but he'll keep in touch with him. So I made my way to the Red Forest, and after passing the broken bridge I spoke to a dutier, and he directs Demidov to speak with Forrester, as he could help in finding the scientist. Demidov explains to Forrester that he is a military man, working for the science group, and that he is instructed to find the scientist. Forrester is surprised that nobody came to rescue him, but he helps anyway. He says that there is a fire anomaly in the forest, and that the scientist should be there today. The fire anomaly seemed to be quiet, with no scientist to be seen anywhere, so I decided to return to Forrester, who was surprised that there was nobody there, and says he'll check it out himself. So in the meantime, I return to Le Mans, where Satrap needs Demidov again. A man will be waiting in the entrance of Le Mans with a package for him, and I seem to look like a DHL delivery boy now. So I take his shitty box, and it turns out he ordered directly from Bosnia. Satrap is obviously unhappy and shares that he and Zvontsov from the duty checkpoint had a mutually beneficial contract to exchange information, but it seems the deal is busted now. You have a choice between killing duty or helping them to grab the information from the mercs, so I did the morally right thing and decided to nail the mercs.
За работу! Вижу сталкера! Ну, поехали, парни!
After a while I got a message from Fanatic to meet in the mines and from Forrester about the scientist, but I went to Fanatic first. Fanatic says that one of his men disappeared in the forest at night and needs help to figure out what happened. So I went to the spot at night and found a phantom of a man. He says that he is now on the other side of reality and that I should take hard drugs from Sakharov to help free him. Sakharov's theory about this is that some kind of teleport opens up at night in the Red Forest and that's how people disappear. So he gives Demidov the hardest stuff he's got strictly for scientific purposes. Demidov appears in a weird place. It looks like Red Forest, but it isn't the Red Forest, lol. The trees are twisted and it looks isolated, like there is no world beyond it. There I met a zombie and a stalker by the name of Weasel. Weasel says that there is no way out, but Demidov disagrees. Weasel then shares that he once met another stalker here, and that at some point he disappeared. And he couldn't have died as there is no danger here, so maybe there is a way out. So I looked around and found a compass, and after looking around some more I found a way out. So I let Weasel to it and we both escaped. Now it was time to meet Forrester, who claims that the area around the fire anomaly is literally untouched, and that the scientist most likely fell in a spatial anomaly. He gives Demidov a special detector and tells him to search the place. Well, the scientists are dead, but it's just two of them, and I am locked in this room with them. I couldn't find any way out for quite a while until I accidentally dropped my gun and picked up a key together with it. But I didn't really notice it and thought I was very smart to have figured out a way to open the door with a grenade. Once out I headed to Yantar, where I made my way through zombies to Sakharov's lab. Demidov asks about emissions and Professor Kalanch. Sakharov shares that Kalanch should be somewhere in the territory of Rostov plant, where a second laboratory is located. Well, before Demidov is given entry, Sakharov asks if he knows anything about his missing expedition, and Demidov shares that they died. Sakharov believes that Liz Vasiliev could be found somewhere in Yantar. An assistant of ours also shares that a suspicious group of mercenaries was seen outside the plant and perhaps they could be responsible. So I went to the mercs and they spout out something in Russian which I thought was an offering to talk. I was wrong. On the merc leader was a PTA with the info that bandits dragged the scientists to Yantar plant and threw them there, so I went in to investigate, being forced to make my way through zombies and snorks. Eventually I stumbled upon a wounded stalker, so I helped him up before being ambushed by snorks. After escorting him out, he shares what happened during the expedition. Two of the scientists walked into the space bubble and he knew where they ended up, so he went to pick them up, but he was ambushed by bandits. They killed two of the scientists, but before he and Vasiliev were to be executed, a pack of pseudo-dogs attacked and forced the bandits to move. They met with their employer, who is a mercenary, and were just told to throw the scientist unarmed in the factory. He was shot in the back and Vasiliev ran into the depths of the lab, so I went in to find him, but unfortunately I ran into his zombified remains, so I put him out of his misery. With that done, I went back to Shakarov and he had another mission to simply install some scanners. Upon heading out, Forrester appeared, saying to turn off the brain scorcher, to get into the bunker, to disable the device. Forrester keeps going on about getting into the secret lab, find the control panel. I tried to follow, but... Uvalov wakes up Demidov, who shares what happened. Uvalov can't really do much, so they give Demidov more drugs. Well, back to work with the scanners. And it pays off as they detect an anomalous piece of trash protected by a controller. Really worth my time over here. Well, with the shitty piece of metal in Shakarov's hands, it was time to do something more serious. The psi installation under the pond somehow turned itself on again, and it was time for drastic measures. Bomb!
That's it?
Well, it was time to head to Rostock to meet with the scientists there. Unfortunately, Herman shares that Kamancha has left them more than a year ago. He just went away at night. They share what they know about the missions and request of Demidov to find one of their missing scouts from one of the parts of some kind of lab. After going through a small hallway, I found him. But then Pyrogeist appeared, so I dealt with them. Well, with our part done, Herman shares that Barkeep should know more about Kalancha, as he drank before he left. But before going there, I decided to head down into the lab under the bar, named X19, to see what's going on there.
The fuck?
Shut the fuck. So the first is never usually that bad in any of them.
Oh man, that sure was something. I really hope it's worth it.
That's it?
Barkeep says that Kawancha was indeed here, and that he spoke with some drunk stalker in the bar. The drunk stalker spits out that Kawancha went to Freedom in the warehouses. There a huge wave of mutants was approaching, so I joined Freedom to help them deal with the mutants. But soon an emission hit. But I survived. Okay, not really. Demidov then goes to Lukash and asks him about Kalancha. Lukash tells Demidov of a man by the name of Soldering Iron, who should know something more about Kalancha. But before that I decided to visit Voronin, who also had some kind of request. Voronin shares that a large group of mercs have settled where duty once was, before they were forced away by the military. Voronin wishes for Demidov to take the documents that the mercs have. Well, time to talk with Soldering Iron. He says that Kalancha passed through here 1 year ago with some mercenary and suggests that maybe Forrester should know more, so I went to him.
Hi there.
Forrester barely remembers Kalancha, but he has seen him. He asked about a mercenary and then left to Limansk, but before heading there I received a message by Max. Lucas seems to have gone mad and ordered for a few loners to be killed and robbed for no reason. He then ordered for everyone to be quiet about it. Well, Max seeks justice and asks Demido for help. You have the option to ask around if the Freedomers support either Max or Lucas, but the responses are completely random. If you choose to help Lucas, you simply kill Max and his group, but if you choose to help Max, it plays out differently. He tells you to meet him at night near the walls outside the base, but once there someone else is here. Shit, it's an ambush! Well, after several tries I killed the attackers and went to meet with Max. Apparently Lucas already knows about Max's plan and escaped to a secondary base in that city. Max refuses to put up with it and prepares to attack and take down Lucas.
Stay focused, guys. Enemy front.
With the base clear and no sign of Lucas, it is suspected that he most likely went south to Yantar, and before going there I decided to help a jailed ecologist. Turns out it's a Valve. They were on an expedition over the Red Forest when they were hit and kidnapped. The other two ecologists were kept jailed by a group of bandits, so I went in there and made them kiss the concrete. Unfortunately, the ecologists seem to be suffering from severe brain damage. Well, after that I headed to Yantar where I found Lucas, or should I say his remains, with a message on him left by the killers that turned out to be his own guards. Well, Lucas was a terrible man after all. He did everything he was accused of and faced the consequences. I brought the message to Max and he gave me a jellyfish.
That's it?
And an exosuit. It was finally time to head to Limansk and find Kalancha. I followed the marker and it led me to a controller, whom I quickly dealt with, after which a message appeared and here he is, Kalancha. Demidov asks him what he's doing here and Kalancha answers that this is his refuge, together with his group. Kalancha refuses to elaborate but goes straight to the point, sharing information on emissions and what has happened so far through the years. He believes that S.T.A.L.K.E.R was not destroyed and that there is still scientists that remain, and he believes that the generators are still being used for experiments, even sharing his participation in them years ago. He also believes that the zone cannot be destroyed, but it could be weakened enough to stop the dangerous emissions. Demidov asks how to reach the generators, and Kalancha says that recently Zulu from Ditya was there, so perhaps he could know. Upon leaving, I was contacted by Herman to meet up. Apparently he had something interesting to share. According to him, Professor Kalancha was found dead in the vicinity of the Scorcher. Demidov asks how. He just spoke to him, and shares his story with Herman. Herman refuses to believe that a person can magically appear after a year and a half in a city full of mercs just like that. Demidov suggests that he could go go there again and double check. Herman then shares that they found only a PDA next to a burned skeleton, the PDA belonging to Kalancha, so it could be wrong. Yet Herman still doesn't understand why Demidov questions him about Kalancha twice, asking the same things in the same tone. Demidov is confused, he only asked once. Herman believes that this is some kind of joke, with both Barkeep and his assistant being able to confirm his words. Well, he decides to brush this weird interaction aside. Going to zoo, he refuses to help, instead sending me to some other man that recently met Guide. The other man is a stalker by the name of Cast Iron. Very original now. Simply sharing his story of meeting a group of stalkers, treating some dude that looked exactly like Demidov, and they spoke of recently seeing Guide around. Nah, nothing weird here. I headed to Agroprom. There a bunch of stalkers were attacked by bandits, so I quickly dealt with them, and the loner shared that Guide went underground. So I jumped down and went deeper into the catacombs, making my way past some mutants and unfortunately found Guide's body. He was dead. On his PDI a message by someone named Notar about a stash. The stash being documents on how to reach the center of the zone during the day. With them Demidov should be able to. Get captured by the military. They stole the documents and left him to rot in an anomaly field. But they forgot that he can just leave. So I went back to grab my shit and teach them a lesson. Once done, I returned to Limansk where I met a former mercenary named S.T.A.L.K.E.R. According to him, he's a part of a group that believes in coexistence with the zone. Demidov questions S.T.A.L.K.E.R. about Kalancha and S.T.A.L.K.E.R. shares that he is in the base, but the location is secret. Demidov tells him that he was told that Kalancha was dead. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. says that Kalancha is alive, but it was all staged to draw attention away. On my way out, something weird happened, and these men appeared. What? Well, with nothing else left to do, it was time to find the Scorcher. So I approached the barrier to help with a monolith attack that never happened. Instead, 3 of the fanatics appeared, but they were seemingly no longer under the effect of the Scorcher. So I learned from Cap, who learned from Max, that military brute force their way into the Scorcher. Unfortunately, the Monos were killed, so I just moved on. What? The Scorcher was populated with soldiers more than anything else, so I pushed my way through. Then an emission began.
Oh, fuck.
I had no choice but to speed up, and eventually I was contacted by Max for help. Max shares that they were on their way to the bunker when they learned that the lab was flooded with death cancer, and we needed a special antidote in order to get in. Well, I decided to go with Max and push through the military before getting the death cancer antidote. With more soldiers blocking the way, I had to up the kill count and eventually bomb a camera for the antidote. And well, it was time to head right into the Scorcher. Past the tunnels I met a man named Kashay. He looks like Demidov, talks like Demidov, is looking for the same thing as Demidov. Kashay shares he somehow ended up in the Dark Valley and has separate images of memories. He was trying to understand what happened to him, went into underground laboratories and found documents. Eventually he learned of the military's attack and understood that something big was happening. Through Guide he went to the radar, Sneaked through, and while heading to the generators, he heard the explosion and came here to see Demidov. Kashay wants to find what the zone is. Why it didn't disappear after S.T.A.L.K.E.R? What if S.T.A.L.K.E.R was just an agent of the zone, programmed to spread misinformation? He hopes to find answers. Kashay also shares that he learned everything from Kalancha, who he met in the swamp. Demidov refuses to believe, as he just had spoken with Kalancha in Limas. Kashay understands why in the bar everyone looked weird at him once he asked about him, as Demidov was already there before him. It's strange how they both look, sound and have the same goal. It's strange that they met. Kashay wonders what to do with him. Perhaps Demidov is just a manifestation of the zone. To Kashay, he surely could be, so he decides to open fire. And with no options left, Demidov fires back. And within a second, Kashay was dead. There is no going back now. So I made my way through the tunnels, and eventually I was out. I found a monolith base and cleared it out, finding one piece of the code with the other in the second group, whom I also found and killed. Now at last I can go down into the lab. In the lab, a voice echoes. Surprised that someone came here. It speaks of being locked here for 16 years, asking Demidov if he's a real person. Demidov is confused. It says he's right in front of him, unable to be seen. An invisible monster forced to communicate with itself for eternity. Demidov kept moving throughout the lab, finding a corpse of a scientist. On him a document about an experiment that went out of control and it killed everyone. The perfect guard for S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and to kill it, you need to disable the flask where S.T.A.L.K.E.R is. Demidov had a try there, but it stopped him, questioning why he came here. It starts going crazy and rambling on and on about its condition, of how it wishes to be alive again, cursing what S.T.A.L.K.E.R subjected it to. Maybe it could be alive again if somehow it got inside of Demidov's body. Demidov tries to calm it down, but it doesn't work.
Misinput, calm down! You calm the fuck down!
After fighting through its torment, Demidov just offers his body, to which the monster is confused. It takes a metaphorical step back, metaphorically visibly realizing what it has done, and accepts it will never be alive again. So it lets Demidov to S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Perhaps disabling them will free it. But first Demidov must gamble with his life on a 50-50 coin toss, because 100% of jackpot winners quit before they hit big. Well, with nothing left to do, Demidov disables S.T.A.L.K.E.R. This is it. He wakes up in the generators in front of Kalancha. He's surprised, but it's not Kalancha. It is not Kalancha at all. He died long ago in the S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Duty was right. What Demidov sees is nothing but a projection of a former agent of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. The entity calls itself Zona. It communicates with him directly through holograms. It explains that he freed it, making the zone stronger. Demidov is confused. Was his entire expedition back in time for nothing? Well, it turns out that nobody sent him back in time. The time machine, the lab, it was all fake memories. There was once a stalker named Pivot. He was hit by an emission and turned into a different person. It took this chance and guided him directly to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R. But then a sudden emission hit the S.T.A.L.K.E.R's antennas and flowed into the lab. Energy so powerful, Pilot was destroyed to molecules. But before his death, he saw 4 copies of himself, and the S.T.A.L.K.E.R suddenly turned on. One of them died in Agroprom, one was in Cordon and later died in Red Forest. The third one appeared in Dark Valley with scraps of memories, and the fourth one was right in front of the entity. It's Demidov. Every single memory that he knows is a mix from Pilot's memories and random events throughout his life, with Ivan Demidov being the real name of Pilot. The entity explains the large emissions in 2011 gave the zone's ability to create doubles. That's how Forrester and Yantar, Kalancha and S.T.A.L.K.E.R appeared, and now it simply leaves Demidov to die. Demidov wakes up. In front of him, a man in similar clothing. It's Novikov. He shares that Demidov messed up quite badly and Novikov failed to stop him. As soon as he learned what he was looking for, the generators and Kalancha, he tried to find him. Novikov shares that he once worked for S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and by turning off their tubes, Demidov released the zone from their control. He also shares that it's not over yet. They are currently located in a secondary control center, and together they can turn it on and stabilize the zone. So they head down together. and with that Serbia was saved. Davidov decides to take over the role of the Stalker pilot, guiding Stalkers to the most dangerous locations and even pushing towards the Belarusian part of the zone. The story is quite short but really good. I'd say this is the most unique Stalker story I've played so far, short and sweet with very little bloat. Every single quest had its place, at least in my opinion. The mod overall was really good. I recommend that everyone gives it a try at least once, but now it is the story that is the only reason to really play this mod, as it is simply Call of Chernobyl with story and less locations. Of course I can mention some negatives about the mod. Stability would be the main thing to blame. Countless nonsense crashes, even ruining some of my footage again. It all seems to come from lack of memory. Despite having 16 gigs, it was not enough for Stalker. GG. Luckily that's the only big thing. The brain dead AI is fine considering the mod is story oriented, so you won't be noticing it all the time, but it is quite a downgrade from what Call of Chernobyl had. Perhaps the overly tanky mutants would be a more annoying one. It's not hard, it's just annoying. I would like to apologize for this video being a month after the last one, but I was visiting my hometown and was stuck without a computerized device for a week. I am rotting, send help. And I am currently looking for a method to acquire food, so expect delays, but I will not quit on making Stalker videos until there is nothing left to cover. Come back next time when I will be taking a look at Reborn, one of the most schizophrenic mods for Stalker, and hopefully it's out before Stalker 2. If you have any mod you wish for me to cover, simply write it down in the comments and I'll take a look at it. For now, thank you for your patience and support, see you!